Yesterday, the Chinese company Unitree Robotics revealed something that just a few years ago would have looked like a scene from an expensive science fiction movie. The massive piloted robot GD-01, towering nearly twice the height of a human, emerged from the gates of a testing complex in China in front of journalists and bloggers. And within just a few hours, the footage had spread across the entire internet. At first glance, many people assumed it was simply another technological concept, a beautiful toy for exhibitions and demonstrations. But behind this showcase lies something far more serious. According to analysts of the Asian technology market, machines like these could become the beginning of the largest industrial revolution since the emergence of the internet and mass-market smartphones. And the most alarming part for the United States and Europe is that the center of this revolution is now located in China itself. According to several Chinese technology publications connected to Shenzhen's industrial circles, Unitree has already spent months testing several versions of heavy humanoid platforms. Some are aimed at the civilian market, others at industry and logistics, while certain modifications, according to insiders, may also attract the interest of government agencies and even the military. And although the company officially speaks only about peaceful applications, many specialists believe such machines will inevitably be used in security, strategic construction projects, and heavy infrastructure. The most astonishing part is the speed of development. Not long ago, Unitree was viewed mainly as a manufacturer of relatively affordable robot dogs, competing with American developments from Boston Dynamics. But now, the situation is changing before everyone's eyes. Chinese engineers have begun scaling these technologies and moving toward the creation of full-scale humanoid and piloted systems. In the released footage, GD-01 looks almost unreal. Its tall frame, powerful hydraulic legs, massive arms, and distinctive mechanical walk create the impression that viewers are seeing not a prototype, but fully operational technology from the future. Particular attention was drawn to the robot's transformation capability. The machine can alter its posture and switch from a bipedal mode into a more stable configuration for operating on difficult terrain. Some experts have already compared this to the first steps toward universal robotic platforms, capable of replacing humans in the most physically demanding professions. And this is not about a distant future 30 or 40 years away. This is about the coming decade. Immediately after the presentation, shares of several Chinese robotics companies began rising. Investors clearly understand that an entirely new market is now emerging, one that could become larger than the electric vehicle market. And this is not an exaggeration. Inside analytical reports from Morgan Stanley and several Asian investment funds, forecasts have already appeared suggesting that the humanoid robotics market could exceed several $1 trillion by 2040. The reason is simple. Humanity is facing labor shortages, aging populations, and rising manufacturing costs. Robots are becoming not merely a convenience, but an economic necessity. This is especially true for China. Many people still perceive China as a country of cheap labor, but reality has already changed. Salaries at Chinese factories are rising, younger generations are increasingly unwilling to perform hard physical labor, and competition with the United States is becoming more intense. That is exactly why Beijing is betting heavily on automation. According to several economic research centers, the Chinese government already views humanoid robotics as one of its key national priorities alongside AI, semiconductors, and quantum technologies. And Unitree is now becoming one of the symbols of this new strategy. Against this backdrop, the same question is being asked more and more often. What will happen to the global labor market once machines like these become widespread? And this is where things become truly interesting. Most people still underestimate the scale of the coming changes. Many people believe robots will only replace warehouse or factory workers, but analysts from Goldman Sachs and several Chinese research centers warn that the situation will be far more serious. Modern AI systems are already capable of analyzing speech, understanding commands, recognizing objects, and making decisions in real time. When all of this is combined with the physical body of a robot, it creates a universal worker that does not get tired, does not require vacations, does not get sick, and can operate around the clock. That is exactly why yesterday's Unitree robotics demonstration triggered such a nervous reaction in Western media. Formally, it was merely a technology showcase. But in reality, the world witnessed the beginning of a new industrial era. For the first time, it became obvious that China may be capable of mass-producing not only smartphones and electric vehicles, but also fully functional humanoid robots, and doing so quickly and relatively cheaply. Some insiders from China's supply chain claim that the production cost of such machines is falling far faster than expected. A huge role is being played by China's experience in manufacturing batteries, servo drives, sensors, and electronics. In essence, China has been building the foundation for a robotics revolution for the past 10 years, even while the rest of the world barely noticed. Factories that previously produced components for electric vehicles are now beginning to adapt for robot manufacturing. And this means scaling could happen extremely fast. The artificial intelligence factor is especially important. In the past, the main problem for robots was their brain, but the situation has changed thanks to the development of large language models and neural networks. Robots are beginning to understand natural speech and adapt to their surroundings. That is why many analysts describe the combination of AI and humanoid robotics as the perfect storm for the global labor market. Humanity is effectively creating a universal workforce capable of replacing millions of people, and this is already causing concern among economists. According to estimates from several research groups, hundreds of millions of jobs worldwide could face the risk of automation within the next 15 to 20 years. Logistics, warehouses, construction, maintenance, manufacturing, transportation, and heavy industry will likely be affected first. But it will not stop there. Over time, robots may begin pushing humans out of the service sector as well. Imagine hotels without staff, restaurants without waiters, and construction sites operated only by engineers alongside dozens of autonomous machines. At the same time, China gains an enormous advantage. While the United States and Europe struggle with high production costs and engineering shortages, China possesses a massive industrial base and strong state coordination. That is why many American analysts are beginning to talk about a robotics Sputnik moment. In their view, the West risks repeating a situation where it suddenly discovers that its rival has moved ahead in a strategically critical technology. Economic forecasts appear especially alarming. If robots truly become widespread, the world could face the largest restructuring of the financial system in the last 100 years. Labor productivity would surge dramatically. The cost of manufacturing goods would begin to fall. Companies controlling robotic production capacity would earn colossal profits. But at the same time, millions of people could lose their jobs. This creates an extraordinarily difficult social challenge. Some economists are already discussing the introduction of universal basic income. Others believe governments will be forced to create entirely new forms of employment. But the problem is that the pace of technological development is becoming too fast. Just 5 years ago, most experts did not believe humanoid robots would be able to walk properly. Today, they are already carrying loads, opening doors, sorting goods, and interacting with humans. Interestingly, China is using a very aggressive strategy to promote robotics. According to Asian media reports, local authorities in several regions are already subsidizing the deployment of robots at enterprises. Companies are receiving tax incentives and government support. This resembles the early stage of China's electric vehicle industry, when many in the West also did not take it seriously. And then Chinese electric vehicles began taking over the global market. Now, a similar scenario could repeat itself with robots. Some analysts believe that by 2030, China will become the world's largest manufacturer of humanoid platforms. And this is not only about cheap warehouse models. Chinese companies are already beginning to compete in the premium segment against American developments. Another major question is price. Today, such machines cost enormous amounts of money. But this is temporary. According to industry insiders, the cost of humanoid robots will decline much like the cost of televisions, computers, and smartphones once did. The first mass-market models may cost as much as a mid-range car, and a few years later, as much as a good motorcycle. And that is when the real revolution will begin. Imagine a family purchasing a home assistant robot. It cleans the apartment, cooks food, helps elderly people, watches children, performs heavy physical work, and can even serve security functions. For many people, this sounds like science fiction, but only 10 years ago, conversations about neural networks capable of writing texts and generating videos sounded the same way. At the same time, the geopolitical consequences could be enormous. The country that first establishes mass production of cheap and intelligent robots will gain a colossal advantage. It will be able to dramatically increase industrial production, reduce dependence on human labor, and accelerate infrastructure construction. In effect, robots are becoming the new strategic resource of the 21st century. That is exactly why the United States is reacting so nervously to China's successes. According to American analytical centers, Washington already considers robotics a matter of national security. Some experts openly say that the United States risks losing the new technological race if it does not accelerate the development of its own platforms. The situation surrounding Elon Musk and Tesla looks especially interesting. Many expected that Tesla Optimus would become the main symbol of the robotics revolution. But now Tesla is facing serious competitors from China, and Chinese companies may use their main advantage, production speed and low manufacturing costs. Inside the industry, people are increasingly discussing the possibility of entire robotic cities and factories. At such enterprises, most physical labor would be performed by machines. Humans would remain only in the roles of operators, engineers, and AI specialists. This could radically transform the structure of the economy, but along with the advantages come risks. One of the biggest fears is the loss of control. The smarter robots become, the harder it is to predict their behavior in unusual situations. Even now, many specialists are talking about the need for international regulation. Some are even proposing the creation of something similar to nuclear control. But for AI and robotics, the possibility of using such platforms in the military sphere is especially alarming. Officially, Unitree Robotics speaks exclusively about civilian applications. But many analysts are convinced that the militaries of different countries are closely studying such developments. Robots are capable of operating in dangerous conditions, carrying heavy loads, and performing tasks without risking soldiers' lives. Against this backdrop, China continues aggressively increasing investments in AI and automation. According to Asian financial publications, investment volumes in robotics within China are already measured in tens of billions of dollars. And this is only the beginning. The most astonishing part is that most people still do not understand how quickly all of this is happening. The story of the internet and smartphones is repeating itself again. In the early 2000s, very few people believed that the smartphone would become humanity's main device. Today, a similar situation is unfolding around humanoid robots. Some experts believe that by the mid-2030s, robots could become as common a part of everyday life as cars or computers. At first, they will appear in factories and warehouses, then in logistics and construction. After that, they will begin entering the homes of ordinary people. If this scenario truly unfolds, the consequences will be colossal. The productivity of the global economy could rise to unprecedented levels. But at the same time, society would face an extremely severe adaptation crisis. That is exactly why yesterday's Unitree Robotics presentation turned out to be so important. It was not simply the unveiling of a new machine, it was the first glimpse of a world that may arrive much sooner than anyone expected. A world where intelligent machines capable of performing almost any physical task will exist alongside humans every day. While most people still view such videos as entertainment for social media, the world's largest investment funds, governments, and corporations have already begun fighting for the future of this industry. Because trillions of dollars and global technological leadership are at stake, China understands the significance of this moment perfectly. And if current growth rates continue, Beijing could become the central hub of the new robotic era. That means the next 10 to 15 years may change the world more dramatically than the previous 50. But the most interesting part begins when analysts try to imagine not the robots themselves, but the world after their mass adoption. Because right now, humanity is standing at a very unusual point in history. On the one hand, people see individual videos of humanoid machines and treat them as just another technological hype cycle. On the other hand, inside the world's largest corporations, closed-door discussions are already taking place about how to restructure entire industries for a new reality. According to several Asian business publications, some major Chinese manufacturing giants are already testing scenarios in which up to 70% of physical labor in factories will be performed by robots. And this is not a distant future. The first such facilities could appear within the next 5 to 6 years. This topic is especially actively discussed in Shenzhen, a city many call the technological heart of China. It is there that thousands of companies focused on electronics, batteries, AI, and automation are concentrated. Insiders claim that what is happening around humanoid robotics in China now mirrors what happened around electric vehicles about 10 years ago. Back then, many also laughed at Chinese cars, seeing them as cheap copies of Western brands. But years later, Chinese manufacturers began pushing competitors out even in Europe. And now many fear that history may repeat itself with robots, only the consequences will be far more significant. Some experts even believe that humanoid platforms could become the new oil of the 21st century, because the country that controls the production of such systems effectively gains control over the future economy. Imagine a state capable of rapidly replacing millions of workers with robots, dramatically increasing production volumes, and lowering the cost of goods. This represents an enormous economic advantage, especially in a highly competitive global environment. Interestingly, Chinese authorities themselves are already barely hiding their ambitions. In several official publications, robotics is explicitly described as a strategic industry of national importance. According to analytical centers, Beijing aims to make China the world leader in humanoid robot production by around 2030. If one looks at current development rates, this scenario no longer seems like science fiction. Special attention is now being paid to integrating AI directly into the daily operation of machines. If early robots were rigidly programmed devices executing predefined commands, new systems are beginning to learn in real time. They analyze mistakes, adapt to their environment, and interact with humans almost instantly. And this is what worries many specialists the most, because humanity is, for the first time, creating machines that can not only move, but also understand what is happening around them. Some insiders from the industry claim that major Chinese companies are already testing robots in logistics centers without public announcements. These machines carry goods, sort items, and interact with each other through cloud-based AI systems. In effect, a unified digital workforce is being created, where hundreds of robots operate in sync, almost like a single living organism. And if such technologies reach mass scale, productivity in enterprises could increase several times over. But at the same time, this raises a serious social question. What will humans do in a world where physical labor is almost fully automated? This question is already causing heated debates among economists. Some believe that new jobs will emerge, as happened after previous technological revolutions. Others warn that the pace of change is too fast, and millions of people may simply not have time to adapt. This could hit developing countries especially hard. Today, many economies still rely heavily on cheap labor. But if corporations can replace humans with robots, the incentive to move manufacturing to low-wage countries will begin to disappear. Factories could be built anywhere. The only requirements would be energy and infrastructure. This could completely reshape the global economic map. At the same time, China gains another major advantage: access to rare earth metals and vast manufacturing supply chains. Most components for modern technologies are already produced in Asia, and humanoid robots require enormous amounts of electronics, actuators, sensors, and batteries. In practice, China is building an ecosystem where almost all key elements are concentrated within a single country. And this is causing serious concern in the United States. According to several American think tanks, Washington is already discussing the possibility of introducing new restrictions on China's robotics industry. Some officials fear that China could use robots not only for economic purposes, but also for geopolitical influence. For example, it could sharply accelerate infrastructure construction, speed up military production, or reduce dependence on human labor in critical sectors. Interestingly, amid all this competition, many people overlook the psychological factor. Humanity has never before lived alongside intelligent machines at such scale. And not everyone is ready for such a future. Even now, social media is filled with millions of comments from people who admit they feel uneasy watching the movements of new humanoid platforms, especially when robots begin to move in a nearly human-like way. Some specialists call this the mechanical presence effect. When a machine becomes too similar to a human, the brain begins to perceive it as a living being, and this can radically change society. For example, how will robot assistants be perceived within families? How will human relationships change? What will happen to children who grow up alongside AI machines? According to several futurists, the first generations of home humanoid robots may become something between household appliances and fully developed digital companions. They will remember the owner's habits, recognize moods, maintain conversations, and perform physical tasks. In effect, this represents a new type of interaction between humans and technology. That is why there is so much attention around these developments, because this is no longer just about a new gadget or device. It is about the restructuring of human civilization itself. And many believe that the moment when robots began emerging from laboratories into the real world has already arrived. There is also concern about the emergence of giant robotized corporations. Imagine a company where most work is done by machines and personnel costs are minimal. Such a corporation could produce goods more cheaply than competitors and capture markets almost instantly. This could lead to an extreme concentration of wealth and power in the hands of those who control AI and robotics. Some economists already compare what is happening to the beginning of the 19th century Industrial Revolution, when factories completely transformed society. The difference is that now the changes may be even faster and more large-scale. Back then, humanity had decades to adapt. Now it may have only years. Robotization could begin especially rapidly in China due to the structure of its political system. Unlike many Western countries, Beijing can centrally promote new technologies. If the state decides to accelerate robot deployment, it can allocate enormous resources almost instantly. And this is precisely what is now causing nervousness in Washington. According to insiders, some American companies are already in a state of panic, trying to accelerate their own humanoid robotics programs. But the United States faces high production costs and a lack of large-scale industrial infrastructure. China, meanwhile, can rely on its main advantage, mass production. If Beijing manages to produce hundreds of thousands of robots per year, competing with it will become extremely difficult. And perhaps that is why yesterday's Unitree demonstration looked so symbolic. A huge mechanical machine emerging from the gates of a Chinese facility has, for many, become not just a technological showcase, but a kind of warning about what the next stage of world history will look like. Humanity is gradually entering an era in which the main source of power is no longer oil, gas, or even information, but intelligent machines capable of physically operating in the real world. And while most people discuss this as just another viral video on the internet, governments, corporations, and military analysts already understand that the robotics race has truly begun.